Buckle up for another episode of Ghostfacers, a supernatural rewatch podcast. My name is Richard, and sitting shotgun, as always, is my brother in podcasting, Reed. Hey. This episode is full of cups of blood and shadows, but not shadows. But they're things that are there, but they don't work the way shadows work. But light affects them, but they're not shadows.
This episode blows apart our understanding of particle physics.
Yes. You ever needed to know about shadows, this is the one.
Light, wavelengths.
Yeah.
Also spirits.
You're never going to be the same.
You'll never be the same.
Ghostfacers! We're facing ghosts, we're others, we're not, we're ghosts! Ghostfacers! Stay in the kitchen when the kitchen gets hot! Ghostfacers! We're facing nightmare, we're facing dread! Ghostfacers! We're facing faceless, we're facing dead!
Welcome to Ghostfacers. Today we're discussing episode number 16, Shadow. Ooh, I can't see you because you're in the shadows.
I think for a second in my brain, I thought that I had a song to sing, but I did not.
Feels like there should be a lot of songs called about shadows.
Well, that was, you said shadow, and then I was like, oh, and I was about to go into like
a song.
I just had no song.
Yeah, you were
ready.
not prepared at all.
No,
but you were
100%.
excited at the idea of having a song.
Very excited
But did not
about the
have a song.
potential for that bit to have been funny.
Yeah, but most, like all of our bits, there's a potential, but it's not very funny.
No.
This episode aired February 14th.
That's not true.
Nope. That was the previous week.
It's like, we talked about that last week.
This is what happens when I'm not prepared.
They put out 2 episodes of what?
It's February 30th, I believe, is the actual date.
Really? Were these episodes coming out every 2 weeks, or did they just take weird breaks?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Because I know sometimes with shows now, they take weird, they're on for 2 weeks, off again, stuff like that. But I figured that was because the shows I'm watching are like The Flash and that, and they're trying to line things up for crossovers and things like that. I didn't think, maybe that's just a TV thing, and I just watch so little TV like as it happens that I don't really clock it.
Yeah. It was the previous episode was February 14th. This one was February 28th.
Oh wow! So it was like 2 weeks in between them there. I mean, what a high we left off on though with the Benders and the one before Nightmare. 2 incredible episodes. You might as well take a week off. They'll be back.
Well, even more so between this episode and the next one. The next one doesn't come out till March 30th.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
And then April 6th, and then April 13th, then April 20th, and April 27th.
So April they were back.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah, you know how you want to like get people into a show and then like have like this momentum?
Yeah.
They didn't think about that part.
Yeah. God. Okay. Well, very, very, very strange. I was about to blame this on the writer's strike, and then I remembered that that's season 3.
Yeah. So this episode is Shadows, written by Eric Kripke and directed by Kim Manners.
Wow.
A team that comes together
Tag team.
pretty often.
Yeah.
I mean, in Eric Kripke, the one of the sort of main people behind the show, he's...
Well, yeah. I mean, this is his baby,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. So whenever he comes in, you know that something big is going to happen within the show.
Yeah. And I mean, he's the one that conceived of it. I mean, other people since and during have had great takes on the show.
Yeah.
But when he comes in, you're like, this is like what he meant. This is what he intended. Yeah.
A slightly bigger bump from last week. This episode had an estimated 4.22 million.
Sure.
Viewers.
We're out of the 3s. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, you know what we have to do.
Again, those last 2 episodes were terrific. So that's not a surprise.
No, not at all. You know what we got to do now.
Oh, I love this bit.
International
I
titles.
love this bit. I'm genuinely happy about this.
So the Polish, Romanian, and Finnish titles were all Shadow.
Sure.
The Italian, Ombre, Shadows.
Sure.
The Hungarian one,
Oh, come on, Hungary.
The Shadow.
Come on.
But the German,
Okay.
Deadly Shadows.
Ooh. Weird of the Germans. They're usually so literal.
I know.
They actually like added some oomph there.
And the French, Deva.
Really?
Yeah.
Again, every once in a while you get one that just gives away the goat. Yeah.
Yeah. This is Data.
So funny.
Deva is in here. You know what those are. Everyone in France knows what a Deva is, so it's quite simple.
Frankly, there's nothing scary because there's no telekinesis.
It's all France cares about.
I like this little bit that we're building. Like the biggest cultural nightmare for the French is telekinesis.
It's been a very big problem since World War II.
The President Charles de Gaulle, he passed a law against telekinesis. He believed it was critical to our national security.
Men kept staring at goats. Very big problem.
We did not allow that film to screen here.
No. And other goat things, you can do whatever, but no staring.
They have to edit Scarlet Witch out of Marvel movies.
TV Guide describes this episode as two brothers hunt demons, ghosts, and other supernatural entities as they investigate crimes against paranormal
Sorry,
force.
the TV Guide synopsis for this episode was the pitch for the show.
Hold on. I feel like something is missing in this. This episode is all off the rails.
Oh my god! If that's true, if they were just like, "Oh, we don't have one," just run like the show pitch, like that would be very funny to me.
There's no way. I must have just gotten the wrong information from somewhere. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll look up this. I think I just took the synopsis off of like the actual show and not the episode. This is why I need to be better prepared for things.
You knew we were doing that.
I think it's because we were going to do 2 episodes the last time we recorded.
Right.
And then we didn't.
Right.
And so
sure.
I thought we had done it, but we hadn't done it. And
that is fair.
And in my mind, we'd already done it because I'd already come up with all the notes.
Right.
So it's not my fault.
I like how, sort of mirroring the quality of the episodes we're covering, we also will like falter when the show falters.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, TV Guide describes this episode as, while investigating suspicious murders in Chicago, Sam runs into Meg Masters again, but it's anything but a coincidence, as he and Dean soon discover. Wow. I mean, really giving up the goat in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess really the Deva thing for the French title is less of a giveaway than all of the Meg stuff that's about to happen. But
yeah,
that's a fair point too.
Yeah. The featured music of this episode.
All right.
You Got Your Hooks in Me by Little Charlie and the Nightcats.
Okay.
That's a hilarious name.
That is a good name.
Pictures of Me by The View.
Okay, don't know that one.
And The New World by V.
Okay, I don't know that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
And also because I watched this streaming, I don't even hear the...
No. We always give the music
this
that
season
does
is
not.
the weird licensing thing.
Yeah, super weird. But before we get into our thoughts on today's episode, let's open up Dad's journal and learn about some of the real world lore about today's monster. Do you not have your notes?
Yeah, so...
you got it on your phone.
Yeah, so let's see what the lore says about human hunting. No way, this is last week.
We're so off the rails.
This is last week's
You're very
lore.
funny. You're funny.
No, we're going to talk about Deva. I'm not gonna lie. This dives into like Zoroastrianism and religious things I know nothing about.
Really?
So a lot of this is just me like saying stuff I found without fully comprehending. But Deva are essentially like little chaotic godlings. You find them in old like Zoroastrian texts. There's a text called the Gathas. And in later traditions, they're considered to be like personifications of evil. Like the word Deva kind of morphs into the word demon eventually.
Oh, okay.
The word itself comes, you can trace it back through the proto like Indo-European languages, and it basically just meant God. They were just little gods. And apparently, in terms of like conjugating the word in like a form of Persian, the word cannot be interpreted negatively, which is like complete conflict with how they're portrayed.
Oh, yeah.
Which is sort of, I don't know, just like kind of curious. So, according to the Gathas, Devas were god beings who were rejected by their followers. So they like either lost the faith of their followers because they, or they were just like cast out as like false gods. The Deva are described as being unable to discern truth from falsehood, which is also partly why they're kind of considered to be chaotic beings. They're talked about, they lurk in the darkness, which is appropriate for an episode called Shadow. Notable Deva are, there were sort of 6 archdemons. There's Zauries, who poisons plants. Tauries is destruction. Sawar is oppression. Akoman is evil thought. There's Indar freezes the minds of the righteous. I don't even know what that means.
I don't know. It sounds like a superhero or a villain or something.
Yeah, really, interesting thing with Deva is there is some like textual reference for how to defeat them, which is not always true.
Yeah, with
monster lore. So Deva, so fire is one way, in the form of a warm hearth to protect your home or something like that. They're attracted to excretions like fouling or sex or death. So hygiene wards against Deva. They come out at night, so eating after dark you're not allowed to do, because that would like attract their attention.
This always feels like those things where people are just trying to get people to like, clean up yourself, eat.
But that's exactly what it is, basically, because it's this like Zoroastrian sort of religious text. As you go down the list, it's like, like how to defeat Deva. It's like hygiene, preparation of the dead and mourning practices. You're talking about funeral rites,
more often.
Rules of social behaviors, marriage, and that to like limit sex and stuff. Like everything is about setting up these like religious rules for society. So it's like, how convenient that wards off the Deva.
Exactly.
So, based on that, they're basically, chaotic godlings or rejected spiritual entities. Sort of equate them to demons now. And the best way to confound them is to live a good life and follow the rules. But yeah, I thought the idea of like, they are gods, but since they've lost their followers, they just become these little like mischief, evil spirits. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, that's Deva.
Wow.
There you go.
Deva. I barely know yet.
That's their first dive into Zoroastrianism, and as I was like looking stuff up, I was like, I realized I know nothing about Zoroastrianism.
A new thing you get to learn.
Yeah, I would probably go and like research some stuff on my own.
You are the Sam.
No, I'm too cool to be Sam. Fine, I'm Sam.
Yeah, there it is. Well, before we get into the episode...
Does that mean when we finish this show, I immediately get a show of my own?
About being a cowboy podcaster?
I have to figure out, like, I think something suspicious about the way my podcast co-host died.
Yes. Oh, that's right. You're chasing ghosts.
Oh, God, I wish.
I couldn't believe that line was in that.
Yeah, welcome to my new podcast.
Oh, yeah, you put a Southern accent. It's a different show.
Yeah, 7 years from now, look for that.
Yeah, that'll be really exciting. I can't wait for your...
My Walker rewatch podcast.
Could you imagine? That's going to be...
Just me.
It's going to definitely be a mini-series. I've got a bit of behind the scenes before we even...
Sure, yeah, let's do it.
This is the last episode to air Tuesday nights on the WB.
Oh,
when they moved to Thursdays, always at 9 p.m.
Maybe that's partly why there was a gap. Like they were going to move them to Thursdays, but other shows had to finish up or something.
Maybe, yeah, because the next one starts on Thursday, and then they stay on Thursday for the rest of the series.
Right.
They moved to like...
So they were on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Weird night.
Super weird night.
Yeah, Thursdays. I mean, maybe that's a show of confidence because Thursday is one of the big TV nights. Like Thursday was it was done by the time this show was on, but Thursday was like Friends and Frasier and shit like that when like those shows were on. Like Thursday was like the big night for TV.
Well, exactly, right? And they replaced Everwood on Thursday.
I don't even know what that is.
No? Oh, no. Okay. I watched Everwood.
Just another kind of like CW romance kind of thing.
It's like a new kid comes into like a remote like northern town and his dad's the doctor in town. It's kind of like a Hallmark movie for teens.
Right. Yeah, and his dad's like dealing Viagra, so now they call the town Everwood.
Nice. I didn't make that connection, but sure. Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, absolutely. So why don't we start into today's episode?
Let's do it. It's funny. We talked about this a little bit after we finished recording our the Benders episode is that
Yeah.
I forgot that Meg came back in this one. I asked you, I was like, when does Meg come back? Isn't she in there?
It's like,
And
yeah,
then you were
this
like,
one.
it's next week.
Yeah, it's about to happen.
I completely forgot. You know, it's one of those episodes where like I remembered pieces but didn't attribute them to this episode.
No.
It just sort of, they were just floating in my head. So yeah, you know, we're getting our 22 years ago recap. We're seeing that stuff we saw of Meg last time, right? Her, picking up that.
We're so close to a then and now.
Her and that truck driver. She slits his throat. She talks into like the chalice of blood and stuff like that.
Great metal band name.
Chalice of blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good name. Yeah.
So we're in our cold open as usual. Chicago, Illinois. A young girl, Meredith, is walking through the streets and enters a deserted alley.
Check out how big those cargo pants are. That is 2005.
Hey, but this is a modern show. She's got an iPod.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's got her iPod, and then, but her iPad's gonna die.
I mean, again, it's just like you got headphones in, you're walking through dark alleys. Like, I don't want to put the blame on her,
Oh
but
no.
it's just don't do that. If you are just out there, don't put your headphones in and walk through an alley. Just,
No matter who you are.
no matter who you are, don't do it. It's a bad idea.
My wife has a thing where if I go for a walk with the dog in the woods, she's like, don't have your headphones on in the woods.
Well, I mean, we live in the Yukon, though. That
could
is
be
so
a
you
bear.
could keep your ear out for bears and wolves and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but there's bears and wolves in real society. They're called
No.
people.
Oh, my God.
I know.
People are the real wolves.
That's right.
Yeah, so she hears this voice like on the wind. The wind picks up in this alley. She hears like, Meredith. And yeah, it's pretty creepy. She does not go towards the voice, but of course, you know, whatever this thing is probably going to follow her.
But I mean, at least it's not doing that trope with like TV shows where they like follow the voice and
Yeah,
are like, oh, like why did you get killed? I don't know, because I heard a scary thing and I went towards it.
that's true. But
This
you
is
see this
better.
big shadow,
Yeah.
like on the wall. You don't see the thing casting the shadow, or if something is casting the shadow.
No,
you just
not at
see this shadowy figure kind of following her
Yeah.
around. She's trying to get back to her place. She's fumbling with her keys. All these kind of classic horror things.
Yeah.
You never find the right key when you need it.
Nope.
Yeah, she manages to get inside.
Mhm.
Great. Episode over.
Wonderful. Look at that. It's wonderful.
Nothing for Dean and Sam to look into here.
No.
I like how she comes in. Oh, she's disarming the thing. I thought she was arming the alarm. Oh no, she did arm it again.
Yeah.
But she's inside. These things not connected to motion sensors. She just like armed her place, but she was in it. Is it only monitoring whether or not the door opens?
That's weird.
Like, she's just moving around her place. Like, aren't most like house alarms motion activated?
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah. For some reason, that's not how hers is.
No.
She goes, gets something to drink. She's pretty much
She's getting comfortable in her house now.
she's pretty much calmed down. She's safe here or whatever. She gets a voicemail. She's having a beer. Everything's fine. And then see this like sort of cloud shadow, like a mist
Yeah.
sort of thing,
Yeah.
appear on the wall. It's definitely two-dimensional. Still a shadow. It's not like the demon cloud thing that we saw in Phantom Traveler.
No.
Or anything like that. And the shadow reaches out behind her shadow and like rips her heart out or whatever happens.
It does it through her shadow, but it actually does it to her.
And we get the blood splatter on the wall.
That's right. It's a classic
Yeah.
supernatural beginning.
Love it.
So this is a 1 week later now, and we're going to that same apartment. Dean and Sam show up dressed as security alarm repairman, probably being like, hey, for some reason you have to set your alarm once you get into your house. That doesn't seem like...
Hey, this isn't up to code. Where are the motion sensors?
Yeah.
This alarm wasn't connected to anything. No wonder she got murdered.
Yeah, that it all adds up. Another case for the Winchester boys. And they left. That was it. Now they set up and they're dressed as security alarm repairmen to investigate the murder, because you know how security alarm repairmen come to investigate murders.
I do want to give something up in this episode because the episode does it via the credits. Credits are important.
Yeah.
Artists deserve the credit that they've earned, but it kind of ruins the tension of an episode a little bit where you see guest appearance by Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh yeah,
We're going to get John
that's right.
in some capacity. We don't know what yet, but
It's
the
kind of like,
episode's sure to let you know. That,
oh, don't worry,
Yeah.
their dad's going to be in this one.
yeah.
So They are now in the apartment and talking to the landlady who's providing.
I forgot that she said that.
What?
They come in and she goes, "You're from the security company?" And Sam goes, "Yep." And then she goes, "Well, no offense, but your security's about as good as boobs on a man."
Wow.
Which may be kind of like trans exclusionary now.
A little bit, yeah.
But just at least she's pointing out that it's a bad security system.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she provides some information on how the place was locked up and the alarm was still on, and how Meredith was cut up into pieces.
Yeah, which is...
burying the lead here, but...
Yeah. Like, and a window was broken.
Oh, also they cut this lady into tiny pieces.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's relevant.
That's the most messed up part, because you don't really get the sense of that from
The shot
what we
that
saw
we
with
see.
the shadow, right?
Yeah.
But that's pretty wild. The woman says, if I didn't know any better, I'd have said it was a wild animal. That's how like ferocious, how awful this attack was.
Yeah.
And everything.
The show's really given a bad rep to wild animals. Everybody thinks it's a wild animal that does everything.
Why don't you go for a walk outside with your headphones in?
Yeah. Be like, what's up, wild animals? Let's hang out.
Dean says, found no weapons, found no prints. And Sam's like, I knew it. I knew this was our kind of gig.
Yeah.
They take out their like EMF things.
Yeah. Dean has also checked with the police and found out that Meredith's heart was missing. They suspect a spirit, and Dean manages to lay a symbol with masking tape from the carpet, a symbol that they don't recognize.
A heart going missing is usually a good sign of some sort of like occult ritual or something like that. I don't know I guess they're fully jumping to spirit because they're getting some EMF readings, and also like, how did someone get in if the security was armed?
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of those things where I would also expect that from a person, right? Like needing a heart feels like a thing you need for a ritual, maybe to summon a spirit.
Yeah.
But I guess there's enough other evidence for them. They're pretty convinced that it's a spirit. So yeah, he's like, Dean's connecting the blood dots with tape, and it makes this symbol.
Which is like
I don't know how he knows which ones to connect.
I know, it's a bit of a stretch to do that. It's like when people like draw like shapes and constellations, and I'm like, well, that's not, they weren't created that way. It's just Is that a bear? So and there's even a bunch of dots in there that he could have taped, like that were just as much dots as the ones he did tape.
I think it's probably more a thing where Dean just looked at it, thought he saw a pattern, and just had to tape it out to illustrate what he thought the pattern was. But it is a little silly.
Could also have taped around the blood because, evidence, but...
No, that's not their concern. They're not cops.
Yeah, that's true. So now they're at a bar where Meredith worked. Dean and Sam compare notes. The two victims apparently had nothing in common as far as they could tell. I always love a good Dean and Sam at a bar.
Did I miss the bit where they talk about a second victim?
No. Not that I know of.
Oh, you just said two victims had nothing in common.
I don't know.
Oh, I completely missed it. There must have been talk of another victim or something like that.
Yeah.
That it's similar to something. Oh, maybe that's from when Dean was talking to the cop or something like that.
Yeah.
But they say Meredith seems normal. No one says anything that like is ringing alarm bells. Sam says that symbol isn't in Dad's journal. I guess I'll have to go do more research. Please, can I? The previous victim, I guess his name was Ben, and same sort of thing. Door locked, alarm on. He was mutilated too, and Sam's like, I can't figure out what the connection is. They never met. They were from two different worlds, but we got to figure something out. This is clearly our kind of gig.
Yeah. But they're interrupted when Sam spots Meg, the girl he met in Scarecrow.
Which is, it's definitely a weird moment because like they meet kind of by accident on the side of the road there, and they go their separate ways. Last we leave her, she's quote unquote heading to California.
Yes. She talks about how she didn't make it to California and ended up in Chicago. Which, that you don't just like...
Yeah, she's saying, Sam, is that you? Like, she's surprised to see him. And And Sam says, "I'm just in town visiting friends," which I guess is all you can say.
Yeah,
in Sam's line of work.
It is weird that she's like, "Well, where are your friends then?" It's like,
yeah, he says it. She goes, "Where are they?" And he goes, "They're not here right now."
But it's also just
he
like
immediately called on the line.
Yeah. But also, like, who confronts somebody about, like, I would be like, oh, they're probably somewhere here. It doesn't, like, you can walk away from your friends.
Well, also, like, he came over to her and her back was turned, and then she turned around and said, "Oh, hey." It's not like
Yeah.
she saw him walk in,
No.
but no, she was like immediately like, "Where are your friends?" But even that's kind of like that's
Suspicious.
suspicious. It's weird.
Yeah, it's very, very
They're
weird.
flirting a bit. You know, Sam said, "I didn't think I'd see you again," and she said, "Me either. I'm glad you were wrong." You know, and Dean is like, "What's happening here?" You know, because anytime Sam is getting his flirt on, Dean's got to.
But Dean's also like, I mean, why talk to him? I'm here.
Yeah, want to trade up?
Yeah, like
I think there's a little bit of that there.
always.
Meg says, "I've heard of you. Nice the way you leave your brother like luggage." Because really, in that episode,
Yeah.
that was when they were having some issues.
Yeah.
You know,
There's a really funny line in here where Meg claims that she met something Michael Murray in an LA
Yeah.
bar. This is a reference to Chad Michael Murray, who Jared Padalecki feuded with in Gilmore Girls in 2000 and House of Wax.
you mean like in real life, or their characters feuded?
Their characters.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, Meg says something like, "Oh, the way he treats you. If it were me, I'd kill him."
Just
and,
like,
we've already seen Meg kill a man, and you're like, "Oh, fuck.
yeah, like you just,
Sam, be careful."
I know. But I mean, even Sam, you could tell he's still being like a little bit guarded.
I mean, a little bit, but more just in that way where it's like, I just watched my girlfriend die like not that many months ago.
Yeah,
I
fair.
sort of have a busy, like, important thing to do.
So Sam gets her number and they agree to meet later. But after they leave, Sam is suspicious and Dean's just upset because he's like, hey, get it going. You got something going on there. But Sam insists.
Well, because Dean, even in this episode, he's already talked about how the cop was perky, and then when they're in the bar, he's like, "So the only intel we got is this number I picked up." Like,
Yeah.
Dean is crazy horny this episode.
Super horny.
More than he has been in a while.
It's true. So Sam insists there is something up with her. It's too coincidental. So he decides that he's going to go watch her while Dean goes. I mean, which is not great. Luckily, she's
But Dean's like, "You're damn right. There's something weird. She wasn't into me."
very funny. He decides to go to watch her while Dean goes to check up on her history and research that symbol that they found.
Yeah. And Sam says something very smart here. I mean, kudos to Sam for having the wherewithal. He said, "This is too weird. Someone random that I saw at a certain time, blah, blah, shows up in the bar where a person was killed by something supernatural." And then Dean's like, "It's a coincidence." And Sam is like, coincidences don't happen to us.
I mean, which is fair.
I mean, not even that he's had that much experience with that at this point in the show.
I
but
know.
Kind of, good for Sam for having a little bit of care and caution and things.
And calling into something that will come up like 15 seasons later.
Totally.
Just awesome. So Sam is watching her while she gets into her apartment, and Dean is now doing his research.
Dean's laptop is like covered in like skull stickers and stuff.
So it's what you would expect Dean
We get
to
it.
have.
He's tough. Yeah.
But Sam and Dean are now talking on the phone while Sam is sort of in front of the apartment and Dean's sort of on the phone trying to figure out stuff on his computer.
Well, yeah, Sam is staking up Meg's place.
Yeah. And Dean they touch base and Dean determines that it's a Zoroastrian symbol, which represents a demon of darkness, Deva, which has to be conjured by an experienced sorcerer. When Dean talks on the phone with Sam, he tells him that this Zoroastrian symbol they found was from around 2,000 years ago before Christ. In reality,
2,000 years before Christ,
yes,
he says.
Yeah, before Christ.
Yeah.
In reality, Zoroastrian was founded just sometimes before the 6th century BCE.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. The timing there doesn't really line up.
Yeah.
But some people think that the Deva in Zoroastrianism might be slightly based on old Scythian gods. And the Scythians would have been around at least several hundred years before Christ.
Yeah.
So, you can kind of, if you want to fudge a few things together, you can, but.
Yeah, a couple hundred, 2,000, still the same.
Well, but yeah, Dean is saying, like, this is not a thing you do accidentally. There is, like, someone in town is doing some serious witchcraft.
That being said, go sleep with this girl.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is just like,
Nothing weird about that.
yeah, no. Dean is thinking not with his head.
No. I mean, it's that kind of funny, slightly odd brother thing.
Yeah.
We get a Sam creeping through the window. Meg's walking around in her bra.
He knows it's wrong because he's looking around and still staring at her.
Yeah, he's like, is anyone seeing me still looking at this? And there's a woman with an umbrella who's like shaming him. She calls him a pervert.
He's just like, no, it's, and he's like, he can't explain it.
It
Like,
actually is. It's a pretty good little comedy moment for this episode. I enjoy that.
it's very, very funny. So, however, Meg's history shows that she's clean. Meg now leaves her apartment and enters an abandoned factory.
Nothing weird there.
No, as you would.
Hey, I just ran into this random person in town. She's following me. Complete coincidence. And get this, fun fact, she's hanging out in an abandoned factory.
Like a cool girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you do.
Someone I want to get to know.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna follow along with her.
And he does. He follows her all the way there.
Unbelievable. Sam sneaks in by climbing up the freight elevator.
Yeah. There's some strong Sam in this. He's
I mean, not as much as we're gonna get in the next episode, but
or in later seasons, we get some like severely muscular Sam.
well, Jared bulks up later.
But I mean, this is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Normally we think of Dean as like the
Tough one, and the strong
athletic,
one.
tough one, but like Sam's kind of going on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe it's kind of good to be the Sam, you could say. You got the brains and the brawn.
No, never mind. I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I'm definitely the Sam.
No, you're definitely the Sam.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I don't think it means what you think it means.
Oh yeah, and I'm so shredded. Cheese on my pizza that I'm eating constantly.
I'm in shape. Round's a shape.
Oh.
Yeah, it's cool though watching Sam climb up this.
Because the way he's climbing is like insane too. There's these like bars, like vertical bars.
Yeah.
And so he's holding onto them and just pulling himself up.
Like that's some
Like it's not horizontal bars like a ladder
No.
that he's climbing. It's these vertical bars he's scaling.
It's like American Ninja Warrior.
It really is actually, because he's got to scoot sideways and he's got to, he's showing some real strength there.
Definitely. So he gets to the top just as she returns and sees her conduct sees her conduct a ceremony with a silver a ceremony with a silver goblet at an altar.
Do you want one more take?
And she sees and and sees her conduct why I don't know why I can't do this.
That's incredible. He sees her conduct a ceremony with a silver goblet.
Yeah, it's because conduct and conduct are the exact same word. It's just context.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
I mean, that's literally how language works. You're describing language.
And sees her conduct a ceremony with a silver goblet at an altar.
And we've seen that goblet before. It's the one she filled with blood from that trucker's neck.
Fun.
Yeah. And she's speaking into this. She says, I don't think you should come. So like
The brothers are in town.
So it's like she is definitely following them. Confirmed.
Yeah.
She is working for someone scary. Confirmed. She is capable of magic or sorcery. Confirmed.
Yeah.
This is a big night for Sam.
Yeah.
a lot of learning happening.
It's kind of insane how much he figures out just by like following this girl that he thought was probably just his friend.
It's also sort of wild that this is only the second time we've seen her on the show. It feels like this is a move that a show would pull like after 4 or 5 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Like when we talk about those CW superhero shows, you don't introduce someone and immediately
flip them
like that. I know there's been episodes in between, but for a second
they
appearance,
flipped her in the same episode that she started.
Well,
yeah.
that is true, but I mean, we're really getting into it here.
Yeah.
No, that's true. You're right.
So the person that she's speaking to on the other end tells her to basically wait.
Yes. Do we actually hear the voice, or is it?
No, it's just a little blubbly blub.
Yeah.
After she leaves, Sam enters the room and finds the altar with the Zoroastrian symbol.
Yeah. So not only have we confirmed that Meg is suspicious and knows too much about Sam and Dean and all this kind of stuff, but we've also now confirmed that it's not a different sorcerer doing stuff. It's all about Meg. It's all coming back to Meg here. And this table has like multiple goblets and chalices and like a mirror, and it's like an actual like prepared ritual kind of altar. You know, there's blood and all sorts of shit in there. And Sam is like, I don't know what to make of any of this.
Yeah, this is a little bit outside of his speed, even for somebody who hunts monsters and stuff. So Dean reveals there was a connection between the two victims. They get back to the motel and are comparing notes. They both were from Lawrence, Kansas, where the brothers were also from.
Everything's connecting. And Sam says, like, it's definitely her. She was talking to someone. There's a black altar. And Dean was like, she was talking to the Deva, and Sam was like, no, this is even bigger than that.
Yeah. Which is, at this point, they were like, a Deva's pretty big deal for even us.
Well, yeah, exactly. Considering they didn't even really understand what it was or what the associated religious symbols were until they looked it up. So Dean confirms that those other victims, like you said, they're from Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah.
So to this point in the show,
yeah,
we've met Meg. We've seen creepy stuff. We've met, we've been back to Lawrence, and we've seen that there was an evil there, and we've even seen the ghost of their mom.
Yeah.
We've met what's his face with the psychic powers, whose mom died the same way.
Yeah.
And, all this kind of stuff. And now these people were from Lawrence. It's like, holy shit, what happened in Lawrence, Kansas?
I know, right? Like,
tell us. What?
How does everything
Even
connect?
Sam says, what's the significance of Lawrence?
It's like just some random small town.
And that, I think that's kind of something like a nice quality of the guys too, is they are this kind of like, we're just schmoey Midwesterners. Like, why? They're not schmoey.
No, not at all. Dean figures they need to help and leaves a message for their father.
Yeah.
Oh, what's going to happen now?
Well, yeah, he says, we got a serious lead on the thing that killed Mom. He leaves the address of the warehouse where Meg was doing stuff. And he's like, please get here fast. I mean, they've gotten phone responses from John.
Yeah.
We know he's out there. And he's responded for less.
Exactly, right?
So if they're saying, like, this is this thing, or we're pretty sure it's this thing.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Exactly.
He's going to show up.
So as they prepare to head out, they discuss what they might do after destroying the demon responsible for their history. After some tension, Dean insists that Sam needs to go off after it's over, but for him, it'll never be over. So he's saying, like, if we get this demon and we kill this demon, like...
Go back to school.
Yeah.
Live your life.
But
yeah, Dean is meant to be 27 or something at this point. He's basically like,
my life's over.
It's too late for me.
Yeah.
You can save yourself.
I think you're still in your
Sammy.
20s.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break.
I know, but I mean, in the context of what we learn about them as the show goes on, it does kind of make sense, but it is sort of funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Dean confesses that he wants them all three to be together as a family. Sam warns that when it's over, Dean will have to let him go on his own way.
Yeah. I mean, even as they're having this conversation, I mean, Dean might say something like that, but you could tell Dean is like, kind of like hunting with you.
Yeah, like this is, I want you to do your own thing, but like also I don't want you to do your own thing.
I'm totally dependent on you.
Yeah.
Sammy, I can't quit you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So funny. That relationship is such a thing that never really resolves itself, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, at this point in the show, it's fine because that's part of the tension of it. But yeah, I mean, when we get into later seasons and it's still this kind of thing where it's like, we've probably gotten past that, right? Like, But they have a legitimate emotional moment. They're a little teary-eyed, and they have a good brother bonding thing. It's basically the opposite of the last Meg episode, where they were kind of fractious,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they leave and get to the factory. The brothers climb up the elevator again as Meg prepares her ceremony.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not really sure how they're sneaking in so quietly.
Well, they're probably not, right? Because as they sneak in, she cheerfully calls them out and invites them in.
Oh, right. Yeah.
She was waiting for Sam.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
God, that shot where they're going to hide, but then there's a fucking mannequin in the background. But the camera pans across and you're like, watch out behind you. But then you're like, oh, it's a mannequin. Oh, God.
I don't think I ever noticed that mannequin there.
Just when it happened just there, I was like, I've seen this episode and I was like, no,
Not Sam.
I mean, you got to give this show credit. It is like, it's shot to make you nervous.
Oh, yeah. Especially this first season.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. So as they're sneaking in, she's just literally like, well, like, I know you're here. Which they're like, okay, I guess guns blazing time.
Yeah.
Like, this is our only option. The shotgun's not going to do much, though. Is what Meg says, basically.
Yeah, because Dean's like, "Where's your Deva?" And Meg's like, "Around." Shotgun's not going to do much. Dean says, "It's not for the demon."
Which he doesn't know anything about Meg, which is very funny.
Yeah. I like the effect of the shadow attacking their shadows, but it affecting them in real life. Because isn't that sort of like a Peter Pan thing?
Totally.
That's like a whole thing in there. They never really evoke Peter Pan in the episode, but I do like the premise.
Yeah.
That like your shadow is almost like your familiar.
Yeah.
Or something like that. That anything that happens to your shadow happens to you is kind of interesting, you know?
So the Deva strikes, knocking them both unconscious. They wake up bound, and Sam concludes the whole thing was a trap, basically, to lure them in. But
And they've got fucking scratches and stuff from the Deva. They've been sort of ripped up a little bit.
Yeah, and Meg reveals it's actually a trap to bring in their father. Uh-oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
During this conversation, while tied up, Dean says to Meg, "It's Miller time." This was a popular tagline in the 70s for Miller High Life beer. The tagline was introduced in 1997 and ran until 2002 for the marketing of Miller Lite. With declining sales in 2012, Miller beer once again brought back the famous tagline.
There you go.
It's so fun information.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a good reveal. Like, why don't you kill us? The trap isn't for you.
Yeah.
You know, Sam's the one that makes the realization, and the Dean's got a real good, like, oh shit face before he tries to play the brave thing again.
Yeah, she knows he'll come rescue his boys and that the room is filled with Devas.
Yeah. Yeah, and Dean's trying to say, like, that's too good. He wouldn't, like, he wouldn't walk into a trap like this. My dad is the greatest dad. He could beat up your dad.
Yeah, exactly.
He could...
But what he would do is risk himself for his boys.
Yeah.
That's the big problem.
And Meg knows it. And Meg's going to start, twisting those screws.
She starts coming on to Sam, which, I mean, if I was Sam, I'd have a hard time. I mean,
talk about Everwood.
I mean, even if you're like, this person is terrible and does bad things, I mean, she's a very attractive lady.
She is. But not my favorite.
No, not the best.
Not my favorite sort of like female femme fatale that comes into the show.
Totally.
But, yeah.
So Meg catches on that it's a distraction for Dean to free himself and confronts Dean.
Oh, she also... I was misinterpreting the whole time. I must have missed this line last time. She says the Devas are invisible. Their shadows are the only thing you can see.
Oh.
Which is not how a shadow works, but it does mean that the Devas are physically there. It's not just a shadow attacking your shadow and it happens to you.
Oh, okay. So we were wrong on that part.
Yeah, but they're also wrong about how a shadow works.
That's true. You have to have a thing that light hits against.
Also, this room is so dark.
Yeah. Fair. Very fair. So she then goes to Sam again and is really coming on to him.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the imminent danger and like total crazy, it's pretty sexy.
That's what I mean. I mean, It's a thing that we never get as many Dean sexy moments, but people are constantly coming on to Sam.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ultimate like cruel joke of how they set up these characters.
Yeah.
Is that Sam could really take it or leave it.
Yes.
Dean needs it.
Yeah.
And it's like Sam is clearly the one found more attractive.
Yeah, because he's not a dirtbag.
I mean, it makes sense, but it's also just very funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dean first season is a big dirtbag.
Dean's trying too hard.
Yeah.
Dean's got a real Joey Tribbiani thing going.
Very much so. And yet it worked for Joey.
Well, but Joey had the same sort of evolution where he got less dirtbaggy.
Yes.
And became this like emotional,
Yes.
like lovable
It's true.
guy who just never got the right break. And that's kind of what ends up happening with Dean too.
Oh yeah, that's
He's a
very
real
true.
Joey of himself.
But the distraction with Dean is actually a distraction for Sam to cut himself free with his own knife.
I mean, I do like something like this because it does show. Not only did we get the scene with the brothers emotionally being no, like we care about each other, but something like this where without words they kind of figure out what the plan is between them. They know what the distraction is. They know like who's gonna get closer to breaking out first, who's got the knife or what, I like seeing them competent.
Yeah.
And then,
Me
Sam
too.
immediately he knocks over the altar to fuck with the Devas. And the Devas go for Meg.
Because she's been like trapping them basically.
Yeah. Which is like, it's kind of like the thing that was set up in the Faith episode where it's like you trap a Reaper. As soon as that thing gets out, it's coming for you.
Totally.
And so it happens to Meg and
it hauls her out the window.
The Devas throw her out the window. Not a bad falling effect.
Yeah.
Considering the budget and stuff.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty good falling effect.
It's pretty decent. Yeah, absolutely.
So she's down on the ground. And yeah, Dean says, I guess the Devas didn't like being bossed around.
It seems like she fell to her death.
Yep. Yeah, Dean says, next time you want to get laid, find a girl that's not so buckets of crazy, huh?
He's like, you're the one that was pushing. I never wanted that.
Yeah, I mean, he really should say something like that at this point.
Like, geez.
Yeah. She's dead on the pavement down there.
And so the boys are just time to leave. Nothing's different. They're just gonna leave. Problem solved.
We did it.
Yeah.
Well, because they don't really have to wrap up the other cases because they learned from Meg that that was just part of the trap that was
exactly.
set. So they go back to their hotel room, and who's there?
Is Daddy.
It's Daddy.
Oh, Daddy, you're home.
No, I don't like that.
Oh, Daddy.
No. He goes, hey, boys. Ooh.
What's crazy is that he's really not that much older than them, but
He's not, but Jeffrey Dean Morgan
plays Dad so well.
He does. Dad or husband or like...
God, I wish he
Isn't he the dead husband on Grey's Anatomy?
Oh, maybe
He's her husband that like dies in the first season or whatever.
I still so desperately wish that he would play Joel in The Last of Us.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
He would do such a good job, but they won't do it now. I mean, I think they've already cast whoever the person's going to be. But
there's a nice little, hi, Sam. Hey, Dad. Because we know they didn't leave on great terms.
No, that's right. This is the first time they're really coming together.
He's still happy to see him. Yeah. So they start telling him, said, it was a trap. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. And John kind of confirms Dean's suspicions and he goes, yeah, I figured it might be a trap.
Yeah.
It seemed too easy. You stupid.
Yeah. Bonks their heads together.
Like the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
No, Dad, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and John says it's not a surprise the demons tried to stop me before.
Yeah.
And he goes, he knows I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to exercise him. I'm going to actually kill him. And Dean's like, how? And
the demon, you can't kill him.
And John says, I'm working on that. He's got this great smile. I mean, John Winchester's a real fucking zaddy.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah. Let's just say I would drop everything and go on a cross-country hunting demon excursion if I found out that he was on a hunting trip and hadn't been back in a few days.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that demon's one son of a bitch.
But John basically says, like, I've sort of been keeping tabs on you. I'm proud of you. I'm really, really sorry. He says, Sam, I know the last time we were together, we had a big fight. I'm I'm really sorry.
I'm glad you saw
I mean,
the
he doesn't
error.
say sorry, but
Yeah, no, he's going, I'm glad you saw the error in your ways for going to college and you're back here.
he says sorry the way that an emotionally stunted man says sorry, which is he doesn't say it and then he goes, "It's good to see you. It's been a long time."
Yeah.
It's like, thanks, Dad.
Yeah, I guess that's sorry. Yeah. But it's enough to get Sammy tearing up.
Sam gets it. I mean, they have a big hug. That's kind of a nice moment. This is a big reunion. We've seen John before. We saw him at the end of the Home episode with the character that is not, but made me think of Madame Waxahachie.
But I mean, theoretically, the show should be over now. Should be the last episode of the show because
except that a Deva shows up, throws John, throws Sam, throws Dean. But really, yeah, you're right. I mean, the whole point was like, we got to find Dad, make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
we got him.
We did.
Cool. Show over. Like the whole premise of the show ends at this episode, but it doesn't, which is interesting, right? Like
it doesn't. And we go outside and Meg's out there.
Uh-oh.
Not dead at all.
Insane. And the Devas are just destroying them.
They're going for it. There's some stabbing and slicing and
scratching faces.
They're going for John.
They're
there's a lot of blood spatter.
Yeah, they are beating the shit out of these guys.
Sammy again, very very smart. Goes, these are shadow demons. Light them up, and he lights a bunch of flares. And
I'm not sure if that works because they're not shadow demons. They're actually there. But
listen, you're thinking too hard about this.
I just don't know.
We are thinking harder about this than the show did.
Yeah.
But it's still a good effect.
It's enough to get the guys free.
They get free. They get out of there.
They barely leave with their life. And they stagger out into the street where Dean insists that John leaves them because he's vulnerable with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's that thing that comes up in superhero things too, which is like, is that true? Or are you just putting your family in more danger by
not being there to protect them?
Yeah. If you all are on the same page, if you all know what the score is, you're still better together.
Yeah.
But Dean is like, no, because you'll let your guard down to come and save us. That's not good. You got to
when you're fighting, you're not paying attention to your own health. You're worried about us.
And there's that's sort of rational, but it's also bullshit.
I mean, you can get beyond that.
Sam and Dean care about each other.
Yeah.
They still fight. The three of them could do it.
Yeah.
And there'd be three of them.
Yeah. Two of them been able to do it. Three of them can do it, right? I mean, it's crazy, but
I mean, it's a good way to be like, we've given you a little taste of John. We'll get him out of the show for a couple of episodes. But I mean, really, when you think about it, it's a bullshit excuse. That's that stunted male emotion thing.
That's right.
Just tell each other you love each other.
Feels like you've got a lot of emotions you need to get.
No, Dad. I mean, Richard.
But John and finally Sam reluctantly agreed that they should part as they leave. Meg sees them go.
Yeah. And John says, like, listen, this fight is just starting.
Yeah.
Trust me, this isn't over. You'll see me again. But we got to do this.
Which, I mean, at this point, we don't really know what's next because...
No. I actually, for a second there, thought they were going to reveal the piece of the plan.
No.
And didn't. And I won't say it, but I thought they were going to.
It's crazy that they basically are at this point, they're just like, well, I don't... Like, what do you do next? I guess at this point, Sam doesn't have a reason to go back to college because his sort of life is over.
Basically.
But they achieved what they were going for. Right now, they don't really have a goal other than just saving people, hunting things, the family business.
Except that they know that even though they found John, they know he's fine and working on something. They also know what he's working on.
Yeah.
And it's about...
They're just waiting for their
It's about
ability
the
to help.
demon. It's about their mom. Like, they kind of know whether or not they're waiting for him. They gotta... It's not done for them. They should maybe hunt down their own leads, or they should...
Well, and they're just sort of waiting for, because he's basically like, everybody's gonna have a part in this. I just got to get to a certain point. So
John takes off in one of the douchiest looking trucks ever.
Do you think it's a douchey truck?
It's got all the fucking stupid lights up at the top, and it's got like it's a douchey looking truck.
I guess. I mean,
he doesn't need it,
but it's cool.
A nice conservative Chrysler Neon. That's what he needs.
Yeah.
I once had a 2005 Chrysler Neon. Great car.
Did you really?
Well, technically my partner had it.
Oh, okay. I feel like those were just sold solely to like 18-year-olds.
I mean, it was definitely like a college budget car. And that it was not 2005. It was 2011.
Yeah.
And it was
2005. Yeah.
yeah.
That's really funny. But I mean, I feel like I knew so many people in like high school and college who had those.
Affordable, small, easy to take care of.
That's the end of the Supernatural episode.
Yeah. Easy, affordable, small, good to take care of.
Dean.
No,
He's not small.
Oh, God. I want to take care of him.
He's going to take care of me.
Yeah, that's the episode, though. That's Shadow. So we're getting more pieces of this Winchester puzzle.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So should we do our final thoughts here?
Yes. I kind of never really care about this episode. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't really like it. I don't really like this Meg. I just don't necessarily love this episode. I always forget about it. It doesn't really have a great monster. They barely spend any time on it. It's the Meg thing. I get what they're trying to get across, and they needed to continue that story, but they didn't really do much with it. They just sort of extended upon the thing that they already said, which is like, oh, now the boys know that she's...
I will say this episode, when I was asking, like, when does she come back?
Yeah.
I was thinking of a couple of these scenes. I was thinking of the Black Altar and the warehouse.
Yeah.
But I was also blending it with, like, a other appearance. And I actually put like 2 or 3 episodes worth of stuff into one episode.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how this episode feels. I don't think it's bad. Like I said, there's pretty good effects. I think the Deva's a decent monster, but because it's just sort of like there to get them there, and then Meg is really the thing it's about.
But it's barely about her because she doesn't really actually cause any real problem.
The whole thing only feels like it's a portion of an episode because it's part of the bigger kind of series story.
I just don't think that they needed to have them find her, be that, like, you could have her later on just be with the person that she's been talking to. Like, you could have shown this stuff happening and the boys didn't know about it.
And
then eventually the big surprise is that she's...
And I get that we're revealing things. Like, you do things for dramatic effect and for narrative effect, and that's fine. But it also feels like we almost kind of waste time with the cold open and then investigating the crime, learning about it, Deva, all of that just to circle back to, it was a trap for John.
Yeah.
Like, in a way, I get it, and I wouldn't have wanted them to do it differently because I like that the rug keeps getting pulled out from under them.
Yeah.
But also, as a viewer, then I'm like, okay, but then we spent like half the episode on not what this episode was.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it's bad, but it's odd and maybe just a little disappointing. I guess you just want slightly more out of it. But we do get John. There's some cool action.
Yeah.
I do think that Deva is interesting, just not used fully.
Yeah.
I like that we're exploring more of like, what is this Winchester mystery? That's cool.
Definitely.
Meg is not my favorite character.
Yeah.
What would you how many Black Altars would you give this?
Ooh, I would give this 3.
I think I would give this 3.5.
Yeah,
I think that's where I'm going for.
It does what it's trying to do, and it's gets them information across. There's not a lot of like mistakes or anything that happens in it. It's just sort of like it happens, and it's one of those things where it's like homework a bit for me. It's just like you got to watch it because you got to get to the next.
It does set up a bunch of things. Yeah. It is a little bit of like, it's like a prep, like a a primer for other episodes.
It is. I kind of wish that it was just they separated all the pieces of it and put it in parts of other episodes. I just don't know if it felt to me like a complete episode.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I will say that the other pieces I'm thinking of are probably like at least 2 other episodes.
Yeah.
I think I just took like the best parts of each episode and put them together, and I was like, man, what a great episode. And then,
not this one.
But it's just spread out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is it for this week. If you have a note maybe about a future episode, or if you want to just say hi to us and talk about Supernatural, or maybe you want to talk about what you think about the show, or things that you want to see, or things that you're excited about coming up in the future, you can reach out to us through our email.
ghostfacerspodcast@gmail.com.
Or we're all over social media.
That's right. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GhostfacersPod.
And if you want even more content from us, we've got a whole other podcast where we talk about DC Comics properties, the movies, the TV shows, the video games, all of the things that it regards to the comic books from DC Comics.
And in many ways, lots of crossovers with Supernatural.
A lot of similarities. If you like Supernatural, there's a good chance that there's something for you to get into with DC.
Yeah, so check that out. It's the Dr. DC Podcast. It's Dr. DC Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and at Dr. DC on Twitter.
All right, say goodbye, bitch.
Jerk.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.